are going to watch this report on the multi-dimensional role has made African relations indispensable to Egypt's stability, regional influence and developmental ambitions. More about Egypt's pivotal role in the African continent in the coming report.
The African dimension has long represented one of the fundamental pillars of Egypt's national strategy. This dimension is not merely a contemporary political orientation or a temporary diplomatic priority. Rather, it is deeply rooted in geography, history, culture, economics, and national security. Egypt's identity has historically been shaped by its position within the Nile Valley and by its interaction with the African continent. From the earliest periods of pharaonic civilization to modern regional politics, Africa has constituted Egypt's strategic depth, while Egypt has acted as a bridge connecting Africa with Asia and the Mediterranean world. This multidimensional role has made the African dimension indispensable to Egypt's stability, regional influence, and developmental ambitions. Egypt's relationship with Africa originates primarily from the Nile River, which has historically served as the backbone of Egyptian civilization. The Nile was not only a source of water and agriculture, but also a channel for trade, migration, cultural exchange, and political interaction between Egypt and the African kingdoms located to the south. The African dimension also carries a significant geopolitical value because Egypt occupies a unique position, linking three major regions: Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean. Egypt's territory extends across northeastern Africa, while the Sinai Peninsula connects it physically and strategically to Asia. Simultaneously, Egypt overlooks the Mediterranean Sea, enabling it to interact with Europe and the broader Mediterranean basin. This geographical intersection transformed Egypt into a natural gateway between continents and civilizations. Historically, Egypt played the role of mediator between African societies and Mediterranean powers. The African dimension also possesses substantial economic significance for Egypt. Africa represents a vast market for Egyptian exports, investment, construction companies, pharmaceutical industries, agricultural technologies, and energy cooperation. Over recent decades, Egypt has sought to deepen economic interaction and integration with African states through trade agreements and regional economic blocs, such as the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, COMESA, and the African Continental Free Trade Area. These frameworks aim to reduce trade barriers and facilitate economic connectivity among African states. Egyptian policymakers increasingly recognize that economic engagement with Africa is essential for achieving sustainable growth and reducing dependence on traditional markets. Egyptian infrastructure companies have expanded their operations across African countries, participating in road construction, energy projects, telecommunications, and water management systems. Moreover, African cooperation has become particularly important in the fields of food security and energy interconnectivity, especially given global economic volatility and the growing strategic competition over resources.
Welcome back, dear viewers. And now we're joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumy, former Assistant Foreign Minister. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So, Ambassador Gamal, let's start by the African continent and why the African dimension considered a key part of Egypt's national strategy.
Many reasons, but let me start by saying that half of the Arab world are African countries,
Yes,
starting from Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, Libya, Sudan, Somalia. So half of us is in the continent of Africa. This is very interesting, and we have to take care of this. Another dimension that we are very old partner to Africa, and I visited many African countries where in one country, the king in one country says that he has pharaonic origin. I was ambassador in Cameroon, where many tribes in the west of Cameroon say that they are coming from Egypt or Egyptian origin, coming through the river Nile, then Chad, then Cameroon. And they still up till now build their houses on a pyramid shape. Recently, of course, we have the time of Muhammad Ali and the discoveries of River Nile. Then Gamal Abdel Nasser, really, it was a big turn to these relations, where he led with his counterparts in many African countries the struggle to liberalize Africa from the foreign occupation. And this continues during President Sadat and Mubarak. But what I was a little bit not happy during the last 10 years of President Mubarak, his health didn't help him to travel at all, or also when they tried to kill him in Addis Ababa, you remember this incident? So for security reasons, he was not moving, and for health reasons also. So we were a lack of the presidential contact with the African countries. As I told you, I was an ambassador in Africa, and when I left my post, one of my very important remarks then that we invited the president of the country, and we failed to fix a date to receive him because our president was not very healthy. Now, thank God that we have a very active president.
Yes.
We have a very active Minister of Foreign Affairs, and I am trying to follow our president briefly, because every day, every hour, he's either talking to his counterparts by phone, receiving some African leaders, or visiting some countries in Africa. And just to show to our audience and to you that I give one example to one country which our president visited. When I was ambassador in Cameroon, I was what they say non-resident ambassador in Equatorial Guinea. Why non-resident? Because there isn't any resident. And a few times I went to do my job. Thanks to the president of Equatorial Guinea, he hosted me in the Royal Palace, in the Presidential Palace, where you do not have water after 6 o'clock, things like that. Our President Assis visited this country, built an embassy with Arab constructors, and he named a resident ambassador now. So we have full representation in Africa. This is just one example of how we are developing our relations with every single country in Africa. Also, during the presidency of our president to the African Union, he proposed to make one big free trade area of the 51 countries, and because Africa was divided in 3 subcontinent groups, COMESA and others. So now, after this initiative, they agree with our proposal, and we have a market of 51 countries, 1,200 million inhabitants. This is something really we have to build on. And as I always say, in a file like that, the sky is the limit.
Yes. So, Ambassador Gamal, also, if we talk about the 3-day tour that took President Fattah al-Sisi to Kenya and also to Uganda, and he also participated in Africa-France Summit in Kenya. Can you tell us more about the significance of this tour and its outcome?
It is good that our French partner is trying to change his image, or their image in Africa.
Yes.
Of course, we in the old history, we look to France or England as occupation countries. Now France changed this to a sense of economic cooperation, even cultural cooperation.
True.
And of course, we well know the Western African countries are Francophone. The Eastern countries are Anglophone. So the new thing here that this meeting takes place in Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya is Anglophone.
It's an Anglophone
and this
country.
means that they are going to encourage both sides, whether in the East or in the West, to enlarge this sort of dialogue. And it's very good that we start dialogue between Europe and Africa with the help of countries in the weight of Egypt, and we are I am glad to tell you that we are one of the most accepted faces in the whole continent.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, also if we talk about Egypt and its strategic and geographical location in Africa, to what extent this location strengthen its role in Africa and also make it a gate to the African continent and a gate to European countries as well?
Yes, exactly. This is one way how we are marketing for the Egyptian economy. And we are giving the message to any investor, whether from Europe or from Asia or wherever, that if you come and invest in Egypt, you are not investing in a market of 100 million Egyptians. No, we are open to 3 dimensions. The African one, which, as I said, 51 countries, 1,200 million. To the Arab countries, because we have also what I call GAFTA, Greater Arab Free Trade Area, with 22 Arab countries. And the largest partner to Egypt is the European Union. Here comes the voice of President Mitterrand, that we have the 27 European countries. We have a free trade area with those countries. We are exempted from any custom duties when we export to those European countries. So the message is, it is not Egypt with 100 million inhabitants, no. It is a very large market where Egypt has clients. Number of them is 2,000 million inhabitants in Africa, the Arab world, and in Europe.
So, sir, also if we talk about enhancing trade cooperation as an intra-African trade cooperation has always been one of the priorities of the African countries. How can we go on with implementing these agreements and increasing the intra-trade agreements?
This is another side of my experience in Africa.
Yes.
Because my last word I said when I left Africa, it was the following message. If you want to trade and make your trade with Africa bigger, you have to invest. Trade will not solve the problem. Why? Because 70% of what we are consuming as African countries is imported. And 70% of our imports we do not produce at all. So we have to concentrate in heavy industries like car industries or textile machines and so on. Also another dimension which we lack is the car industry, the shipyard industry. And the last point is the food. We import a lot of food while we have all the possibility to enlarge our area of agriculture. I have a small experience also about industry. When I was in Cameroon, I imported a few containers every now and then of food, canned food. And I sold it to the diplomatic missions there. But I kept some boxes. I said it as a source of good intention to some friends in the government. So I got a phone call from the Prime Minister, Simon Assis. He said, "I am not thanking you for the gift, but I am congratulating you that Egypt has this beautiful industry of canned food, because the fruits and vegetables in Cameroon, they throw it because they don't have place to keep it. So the trick here, if you establish a canned food industry, they will gain a lot of those fruits and agricultural products, which will just throw it after, at the end of the day. Many things about this that you mentioned, and that's why we established lately the Egyptian Agency for Investment in Africa.
Yes.
And we need finance here. We don't have enough finance as Egyptians for all these projects. That's why our president made his initiative during one of our meetings with Europe to invite Europe, even China, even Japan, to come to invest in Africa with our experience and our labor, which is cheaper and well accepted on the African ground. And we have some positive reaction from China and Japan. We want to bring the European countries, which are highly developed, to come to use our experience and to invest in Africa.
So, sir, also, do you think that there is a big potential to increase our exports to the African market, as you just said, that it is always open to Egyptian products?
Exactly, yes. And we did a beautiful job since we joined the COMESA,
yes,
the Common Market of Eastern and South Africa. Since then, our exports to Africa augmented by 4 times. This is good news, but another good news that in our trade balance, it is in our favor. We export much more than we import. This is the same case with the Arab world and the Gulf states, the Arab Gulf states. So when we started this free trade area, already you gain that your exports was increased by 4 times. But still, as I said, the sky is the limit, and you can even produce more and export more.
So, sir, also, do you think that also the African market is always open to Egyptian investors and to the private business and private sector here in Egypt? So how do you see this, and to what extent it is attractive to businessmen here in Egypt?
Yes, here is another point which our president lately is trying to encourage, which is the engagement of our private sector. Because as you rightly imagine, that we are depending too much on the public sector.
Yes.
We have the experience of our Arab constructors in Tanzania, where they built the dam in Tanzania. But still, really, what we lack is to encourage private sector to go.
Yes, true.
Yeah. While the mass media in Egypt is not doing its job like I would imagine, and still some our colonists are writing something against the private sector. They want the government to do all the job. No, we need private sector. We need not only the Egyptian private sector. We need Arab private sector to come and invest in our country. We need from anywhere the money is coming, it's welcome.
I'd like to thank you, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumy, a former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you for being with us, and short break, and we'll be back with the top stories.